Welcome. I'm Sandy with Sandy Zimmerman's Las Vegas TV, and we're streaming. And with this crazy world we have today, I have a psychotherapist. and, Faust Gregario, is that right?
Faust Ruggiero, but you were close.
Okay. And you have had such experience in so many different fields and in prisons and nursing homes, substance abuse, abused women, marriage counseling, veterans, first responders, and police. Boy, that's quite a listing. Did I leave anything out?
I think you pretty much have it.
Okay. Well, now you wrote a book, Fix Yourself Handbook. Now, if people could fix themselves, you'd be out of business.
Yes, I would, but they haven't, so I keep on going.
Well, it's wonderful. I think it's great. I've read the book. It's so easy to read, and most people can understand it. Some people, some psychologists write, in their own way, but this is for the people.
That's what it was designed to do, Sandy. It's a book that I wanted anyone to be able to read. I wanted them to understand and be able to apply everything. So the way the design is for anyone at all. From you can be 18, you can be 65. You should be able to read this book with no problem.
And you said begin your journey toward brighter, healthier future. So I guess the mind and health is important. It affects your health.
Absolutely. Everything that we do in our lives is going to be interpreted by our mind. And, the goal is to get people to have a different way of looking at things, a different way of different willingness to treat something. So if your perceptions are ready to treat something, and the virus is one of those things that is, just something occurring in our lives. It's a serious one, but if we're ready to go, when we're ready to treat that as something in our lives that we can deal with, we can.
Yeah. Well, you said to redefine life because it keeps changing today.
And it's going to keep on changing. I think if there's anything that we're experiencing, particularly in the United States, is that, we've always had a pretty stable way of living. That's going to be challenged now. It's being challenged, and we really don't know where this is going to go. The virus is just the beginning of it. Eventually, there will be an antidote for this, and then we start picking up the pieces, and that's where it starts to get tricky.
Yeah. Now, your suggestions are very good, but can everybody do that? I mean, it's hard to be able to be honest with yourself.
It's one of the hardest things to do, to be honest with yourself. What I find is that if someone comes into my office and they really want to change their lives, they're willing to do that. There's a little bit of work involved, but we don't make it all drudgery. We try to make it as much fun as we can. I want to put some enjoyment into that. If a person says, I'm willing to do the work and we're going to go at a nice slow pace to meet their needs, they'll do it.
And well, you have a lot of suggestions, and it covers a wide range of experiences, and so that most everybody could see themselves in there.
When people come into counseling, they'll present me with one or two problems. I have depression or anxiety, or my marriage is going bad or something. But once I get into it, there's always a multitude of issues that come into play. And any good therapist knows that. We're not just going to treat one issue. We're going to go back. We're going to go in there and try to get everything. So that's the way I wrote the book, to try to simulate a counseling session or a counseling experience to some extent, where people come in and they see, well, I've got these things that are bothering me. However, here's this whole big array of things that are available for me to change. And if I'm willing to go and put some energy into that, I can change a huge portion of my life.
Right. And you said personal relationships, or some people are alone. So they don't have anybody to talk to or to rely on.
And that makes it difficult for a lot of people. Sometimes counseling is that social experience for them. But for those people, we try to go in and find out why that's occurring, because there are always options. And the first thing is to get past someone's willingness to go out and be social.
How long? Well, of course, each person is different, so it would take different time for each person.
Yeah.
But how long do you think that they could start to think right and to help themselves?
Yeah, it's you're talking about when we start feeling the effects of the
Right.
program, and usually that can happen relatively quickly. Usually within the first month or so, they're starting to see that there's something of substance here that they can grab onto and apply themselves. As far as the changes, that really is how it depends on how much time a person wants to put into it. And I always tell people, don't set goals, don't set destinations. I want to get this done in 6 months or a year.
Right.
Just life is a journey. It goes day to day. Let's live it that way. Let's work it that way. And this program is no different.
And you help with somebody who has anger issues.
Yeah, and I always tell people anger is primarily something that is born out of fear. And you can look around at what's happening in our nation today. There's a lot of fear, but it's expressed as anger. So when we deal with anger, I teach people all the different types of anger, because there are many, and then we look at one or two that may fit them, and then we start working with the triggers and go back and we find out what caused all of it, so that we can put this in a perspective where we can provide some other options for them to address those issues in their lives.
Yeah, some people have anger so fast, from 0 to 100. And that for no reason, and you can't tell. I had somebody I knew, and everybody's laughing, and all of a sudden.
Yeah, and what happens, a lot of people like that are people who are holding a lot in, so they're getting angry slowly, but when it hits, then you see it all at one time. Or we have people who neurologically are programmed to be so intense that they're quick responders. They react to things very quickly. And those are the ones where we're always watching to make sure we don't do anything wrong, because
Right.
if we do, there comes the explosion.
And you are a COVID-19 mental health expert. Now, what would you say about people afraid? And, it's very uncertain today.
What I tell people is, the conditions we're living in are the conditions we're living in. The facts are the facts.
Right.
It's really about your willingness to deal with it. And it's about becoming healthy in your life. We're going into this second phase of this, where we're hearing it's going to be worse than the first. And we've already been through, quite an assault on the nation to begin with. So when we go in this the second time, we're going to be a little bit more fragile than the first. We may know more about how to deal with it, but what I tell people is, don't change your routines. Keep your hygiene up. Keep your nutrition up. Talk to people, even though you have to do it with a mask, or you've got to do it online or with your cell phone. Keep that part of it going. Exercise, and keep yourself plugged into a routine that's healthy. The first time around, we didn't understand that, and people were staying home and they weren't showering and they were baking and eating and putting on lots of weight and getting depressed. So we don't want to work against ourselves. We want to keep a healthy routine going, and that's going to allow us to deal with a good portion of what's going to come in our direction.
Mm-hmm. Some people expect too fast, too much.
And that's what we've been trained to. We're a society that feels we're entitled to a lot of what we have. We've always had it that way.
Yeah,
And
right.
now someone said, "I'm taking the silver spoon away. You can't have it."
Right.
And we don't like that. We don't like to be told that we can't have something. And so we kind of acted out a bit over the summertime, and we saw this thing rise again. Now we're in it all over, and we're going to make some decisions, either to get healthy or not. And, in the book, I give people at the end of every chapter, as at the end, I pick the various topic, and then I tell them at the end of the chapter, here are the 5 or 6 or 7 things. Do these things. I'm telling you exactly what to do. If you're willing to do that, you're going to feel better. Right.
And you have the process way of life. What is that?
Well, as I tell people, all life, everything that we do, look at you and I as we're setting up this interview, that we went through all these processes, you on your end, me on mine, to get to the point that this would work. In life, everything we do, whether it's trusting people, loving people, being honest with ourselves, having gratitude, humility, whatever it may be. There are processes that we need to address in order to get to the point that we're proficient with those things. So if we follow the right processes, we learn how to become honest with ourselves, etc. So everything in life's a process. I teach people how to live with those processes. It's very natural things that they're inside us, so to speak, already. It's nothing new that I'm putting in there.
Right. Now, you say love yourself. That's hard. People have families, they're busy, 2 jobs sometimes, and they don't have time to love yourself. They're doing so much.
Yeah, and I hear that all over. Everyone tells us to love yourself. What I tell people is, if you begin to work with the processes that get you healthy, you will begin to embrace your life. You will learn a little bit more about liking yourself the way you are. And that's the first step in love. That's the missing link that very few people talk about. You've got to learn to like yourself and the world you're living in, the world you're creating. And then once you do that, then you can start talking about loving yourself and loving the world around you. But you got to like yourself first.
Right. And you give the readers tools to rise above the trauma caused by the world crisis that we have now. And that's quite a lot to face what's happening. And then we have hurricanes and we have family emergencies. So there's a lot going on.
You hit it right on the head. It's not just the virus. Even if you take the virus out of it, you're right. We have the hurricanes, we have natural disasters, we have people in our lives that pass, we have economic crisis, we get sick. All those kinds of things are always going to be there. And that's what I tell people. We need to get ourselves to the point that we start focusing on the bigger picture, and we stop putting all these little things that we call needs aside, because most of them are not. Most of the things that the people are fretting over here outside of health and economics and those types of serious issues. A lot of them, I can't go out. I can't go out to eat. I can't go to a concert. Well, they're not, it's not that important.
Right. And I like your title, Brain Power Over Emotional Madness. That was good.
Well, we saw that when the virus came out. Most people were reacting with their emotions. They weren't saying, let me take a step back and let me let my brain do its work. Instead, my emotions were doing the work. And you saw what happened. We couldn't find toilet paper, of all things, anywhere. We're having a pandemic, and go stock up on toilet paper. It wasn't going to cure the pandemic. It wasn't going to do anything. And if people would have thought this out with their minds instead of their emotions, they would have said, all right, if I get quarantined, then someone, my family, my friend, someone, my church, whatever, will bring supplies to me. It's not that I'm going to run out, but now we have a society that's hoarding things and protecting ourselves. And everyone, we can't find guns, we can't find all these things that in the long run aren't going to do us any good.
Well, when something happens, it's immediate, suddenly, and there's fear immediate. So you don't have time to think. It all happens.
And that's what I'm training people to do. When something hits, not only something like the virus, anything, tomorrow you get up and some huge trauma takes over your life. You've got to I tell people, you're going to be able to emote. We're not going to turn you into some type of a machine. You're going to be able to express your emotions. But how about if you say, let me think about it first? Let me put a plan together so I know what I'm going to do. And then let me express my emotions about healthy things that I'm doing.
Right. And which school of psychology do you like best?
Well, I came up with many of them, and I think I was smart enough as a graduate student to learn about many of them. I started with Freudian thought. I went to behaviorism, cognitive things. And what I found is that when it came down to working with people, to lock myself into one particular discipline didn't work. So really, what you're seeing with the process way of life is the culmination of all of these kinds of things. We're going back and getting past issues. We're working with our minds. People like to call that mindfulness today, a more cognitive approach. We're talking about emotions. We're changing behavior. So the point was to try to grab all these things and put them all together into a program that could utilize everything, not just some things.
Yes, and then another chapter, you have life on life's terms, not your term, on life's terms.
And I again tell people this all the time. We like to think we have control over parts of
Right.
our lives, and then the very next day something happens and it's gone. When we start to realize that there is a natural flow, if you will, life is going to go in the direction it goes, then that's where we find the control, because we're responding with our minds to things that are happening, and that's where we gain the control, not trying to run against the wind, and change it to fit the way we want it to be. Once we learn how to work with our lives, with what's happening naturally, life becomes very simple and very easy to live.
Oh, that would be nice.
Hmm.
And how many chapters do you have in your book?
The book has 36 chapters. Each chapter brings up a different topic, as I said, like anger or fear or humility or all those types of things. There's even a couple on love in there. And what I did is I took many different issues, introduced the topic. I gave the people 3 or 4 pages of information they really needed, condensed it so they could see what it is. And then at the end of the chapter, at every chapter, I tell people exactly what to do with those particular issues. So there's no questioning. It's where I get a little concerned with self-help books. You read a lot and they say, well, we should do this,
Right.
but no one says, here's exactly
Right.
how.
That's
And
right.
that's what I want to do. At the end of the chapters, I want to say, here was the problem we talked about. Now do this. And if you keep on doing it, then it'll work for you, because that's really the key. Learning is about repetition over time. The more we
Right.
do something over a longer period of time, the more our brain adjusts to it. So if you give people the steps and say, do them over and over again,
Hmm.
they will change.
Now, could you explain some of your chapters that we haven't covered?
Well, there are many. I mean,
It's 36 of them.
yeah, a huge one is intellect over emotion. We just
Yeah.
touched on it,
Right.
but I tell people again, let's get our brains in the picture. We talk a lot about life being a journey, not a destination. We are people that always have destinations, whether they're the long-term bucket list or that thing I have to do today. And what happens is we get so caught up in that we forget that life is a journey. Second by second, our lives go by, and that's where we need to live life. We want to make, I hate to see people get to the end of their lives and they say, well, I did those 30 or 40 things. That was wonderful. And I say, well, how about all the rest of the years of your life? What was going on there? Let's make the whole thing something that feels good to you. So that's a huge one. That's why I call this a journey, a life journey, because it evolves second by second. That's where we live life. We can talk about all the things we do. You and I have this today. I had many other things to do. I'm sure you did. And now we're sitting down for this hour. And this is what I'm locked into right now. This is what I'm living. I want to teach people if I can, but I want to enjoy the process. And I hope that while we're doing that, you are too.
Yes. Well, when you are all set and you feel good about yourself and everything's good, something happens. So something new that you didn't expect.
Right.
So there's always something coming up.
And that's inevitable. Another reason to live a life, a day at a time, an hour at a time, a second at a time, because sooner or later, that whatever that is going to hit. So why not spend as much time enjoying yourself and being productive while you're doing so that when you do get to that crisis or that new thing you have to deal with, you can look back and say, well, I've been doing well for the last 10 days or 2 weeks or 6 months or whatever it may be. And then when this came on, I'm ready to go and deal with that also.
How would they, if they want to reach you? You have a website, and is there any email or some way to contact?
Sure. The website is my name, fostergerald.com, and it's solely dedicated to the book. It has a lot about me, but it has a lot about the book. You can contact me there if you need to. Buying the book, everything you need is contained right there. But people do send me emails, and I do answer what I get.
So what is your email?
The email is thefix@fostergerald.com.
Okay. And your website?
Website again, my name, www.fostergerald.com.
Okay. And anything else you want to say about the book?
Well, the book is designed again to help anyone who's having any types of problems in their lives. I wrote it to apply if you work the program, anything that comes along in your life, you should be able to deal with, rather than many of the self-help books, which are designed to get you through one thing. Here, let's fix this, let's fix that. I want it in counseling. What we try to do is to get people, just as you said when we opened the program up, is to get people to the point that they don't need me anymore. That's
Right.
what this is all about. I give you the skills so that you go out and do it yourself. That's what the book is designed to do, just like in counseling, to help provide the skills so that you can go out and then be strong enough to deal with whatever comes along in your life.
Well, most psychotherapists specialize in one thing, but you have all this experience. So you handle many different types of cases.
Yeah, and that's done by design. That was done since I was in graduate school. You know, you take psychology, and most people do what I do, take clinical psychology, and I added a research component, and I added a developmental component. So I knew normal and abnormal development, and then left saying, before I go into private practice, I want to experience a lot of different things. So I have all that experience to bring to the office. So that was all done by design.
Yeah, and you have a famous name, Faust. Anyway, well, thank you so much. I appreciate this. Was a good book. I enjoyed, and it looks like it really can help people.
Well, I hope it does.
Well, thank you. I'm Sandy with Sandy Zimmermann's Las Vegas TV. The Palm Restaurant invites you. Imagine a 4-pound Nova Scotia lobster split for two. Try the aged 9-ounce filet mignon and 10-ounce lobster tail dinner. Tender pieces of lobster, juicy steaks. Every bite is a moment to remember. Indulge yourself in their summer specials. Palm Restaurant in the Forum Shops at Caesar's Palace.
Sandy Zimmermann Productions, the video specialists. International experience on location in the United States and around the world. Television commercials that sell. Corporate industrial sales and demonstration videos. Outstanding professional wedding photography and videotaping. We'll climb the Grand Canyon for you. Choose award-winning Sandy Zimmermann Productions, 731-6491.